Hello and welcome. So we are given a circle with two secant lines. All that means that you have a line, right? Two of those lines intersecting each other at point A, and that line in particular intersects the circle at two places. Now, it's that double intersection is why we call it a secant line. That's literally all it means. It just means that you're intersecting the circle at two places. All right. Now, if you had it only intersecting the circle once, that would be what we call a tangent line. All right. So don't worry too much about that vocab there. All right. So if we have two secant lines, we have the intersection. All we got to do is know the relationship between them. Well, that relationship will be as follows. You'll have the part times the whole equals part times the whole is the more or less bare minimum you need to remember, right? With part, we are specifically referring to the as the outside of the part. So, for example, we have three dots, right? The initial dot is your point A, and the first part is going to be to your first intersection point. So that means that 2r plus 9 is going to be our outside part, right? It's outside of the circle, it's that first part. Now the whole is going to refer to the whole line, right? The entire from the initial point A to point G, right? The second intersection point. That is the whole. Now you got to be careful. That's not just 2. That's 2 plus the 2r plus 9. That is the entire section right there. Okay? And then it's just a repeat, like rinse and scrub for the next one. So the first part is 6. So part 6. The whole is not just 3. It's 6 plus 3, right? It's the entire section right there. And that would be it. That would be your setup for this one. Okay, and then it's just a matter, let's multiply it together, solve for your r, right? And then we have 2r plus 9 first parenthesis and 2r plus 11 second parenthesis, right? 2 plus 9 is 11. And then equals 6 plus 3 is 9, and 9 times 6, 54. Okay, and now it's just a matter of solving for r. Now you might be tempted to set these parentheses to 0, but that only applies if your equation equals 0. It doesn't, which means you have to distribute these parentheses out. So 2r times 2r, 4r squared. 2r times 11, 22r. 9 times 2r, that'll be 18r. 9 times 11, 99. Okay, now just combine your like terms. So we have the 22 plus 18, that'll be 40. So we have 4r squared plus 40r. And then I'll just move the 54 while we're at it. 99 minus 54 is going to leave us with 45. Oops, is that right? 5 first. There we go. 45. Okay, now I'm going to save you a little bit of time. Normally at this point you would be solving a quadratic. Okay, now quadratics are normally factorable. Okay, a good chunk of them are. This particular quadratic, for the sake of time in this video, I'm just going to tell you right now, it isn't factorable. Alright, which means that we got to work outside the box a little bit here, and I'd say, alright, well, what are your other solving methods? You have either completing the square or quadratic formula, which I personally prefer quadratic formula if I had to pick between those two. So then I'd say, alright, so that means your quadratic formula, variables are here, so r equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Remember, a is your coefficient out front, b is your coefficient in the middle, c is your coefficient at the end, if you're in standard form. Alright, so then it's just a matter filling in the numbers. So we have negative 40 plus or minus the square root of b, which is our 40, squared, minus 4 times our a, which is 4, times our c, which is 45. And that is all over 2 times a, which is 4. Okay, save a little time. I'm going to punch some numbers in the calculator. We have negative 40 plus or minus, and this whole section is going to leave us with 880. And then all over 8. Okay, at this point, read your directions. It says give your answer rounded to 3 decimal places, meaning do we need to simplify this to get an exact answer? No, right? If it's asking for a decimal, you don't need to simplify this. Don't save yourself some time. In which case, plug it right into a calculator, right? So that then I've already plugged in a few of these for us. Okay, you'll notice that at the top we have negative 40 plus the square root of 880 over 8. down below we have negative 40 minus the square root of 880 over 8, right? And those two answers are negative 1.29 and, negative 1.292 and negative 8.708. Now, those are both negative numbers, but they're not an issue, right? They're not both an issue. Because remember, you're solving for r, right? Where is r? The segment from A to Y. And that is a length, and lengths need to be positive. So if you can plug in your answers, right, those two negative decimals and get a positive number back, they're fine. They're good solutions to use. But if they're negative, that's an issue. Also plug those in right here for you. So the first line we can see 2 times negative 1.292 plus 9, and we end up with 6.416. That is a positive number. It's good to go. That means that you have at least one solution. Okay? Now your other one comes back as a negative 8.416. That's an issue, right? Can't have negative lengths, which means that that solution kicks the bucket, and your final answer is going to be r equals negative 1.292. And that's it. Okay, it's really just a matter of knowing your relationship, set it up, right? And factor if you can. If not, use quadratic formula, and then you'd be good to go, right? Make sure it comes back positive, and that was it. Thanks for watching.